Hi, what's new? My name is Antonio, but you can say me Mitlan. Today I will share with you what is actually celebrated in Mexico on May 5. On May 5th, the victory of Mexican army and people against the French army is celebrated, which occurred in Puebla in 1862 under the leadership of General Ignacio Zaragoza Seguin. The reason why this battle is so historically and erroneously celebrated as Mexico Independence Day is because the troops on the part of the Mexican army were short-handed, even ending the charros and volunteers to fight the French. Also, for this year, 1862, the French army was one of the strongest and most powerful in the world, with the most powerful weapons of war. On the contrary, the Mexican army lacks weapons to face the enemy, and because of this both soldiers, charros, and volunteers used sticks, machetes, and the few firearms they had to face the French. But how many Mexican soldiers were there? Adding up those who participated from Mexico, there were only 2,000 men and women that Mexico had to prevent accounted by the French army, which had 8,000 soldiers, and this army had not been defended in almost 50 years. The commemoration of the Battle of Puebla is one of the most important dates as it was a victory against the army that no one could defeat. On May 5, 1862, after one of the toughest battles in history, the French were removed from Aztec territory with a balance of 500 casualties in their troops, while Mexico had 100 casualties in the troops. This battle became a strong signal for all countries, as a symbol of resistance and Mexican power, remembering that Mexico has always been able to defend itself against great powers if disturbed. Regardless of whether they don't have weapons of mass destruction, Mexico has always been neutral in armed conflicts, but always reminds the countries that if they participate, it would only be with humanitarian aid to the peoples affected by the war. But if they want to attack Mexico first, a dialogue would be initiated through peaceful means to avoid a showdown. But by otherwise, Mexican power will be made known to them, since all Mexicans and foreigners who had fallen in love with Mexico would be willing to die for their country regardless of whether they are less soldiers and lack the most modern weapons, because the best Mexican weapons is to be willing to die to defend the land of their ancestors. In some countries there is a misconception that May 5 is celebrated as Mexico Independence Day, but this is because in US May 5 is celebrated as the Day of Latino Heritage, which is celebrate migration from Mexico. These festivities began in Texas and spread throughout the world with the aim of taking advantage of consumption in restaurants and bars, with the theme of Mexican atmosphere and Mexican food being the protagonists of these festivities. Although, as a Mexican, I would like to say that very few restaurants can say that they sell real Mexican food. They include Taco Bell, which does not even sell Mexican food. Well, back to the topic. This celebration of May 5 gives the wrong idea that Mexico's Independence Day is celebrated, which in reality we celebrate on September 16th. If you want to see how Independence Day is actually celebrated, I recommend you visit Mexico in September so that you know the cry of independence. But how is my 5 celebrated in Mexico? Well, actually on my 5 there are no parties as with other festivities. My 5 is a day of rest, but in some schools and places in Mexico, such as Mexico City, Puebla, Zacatecas, there are parades and representation of the Battle of Puebla. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for watching the video, and in the description box I leave you a movie of the Battle of Puebla. Thanks and see you soon.